Good morning and welcome to our Wednesday Wake Up training session. Today we're talking about becoming a lean, mean appointment setting machine. This is right from Tom Ferry's training. Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Brian Buffini, three of the top training companies and coaches out there, and we of course spent a lot of time with Brian Buffini in the Peak Producers training, which is wonderful. There's some slightly different approaches, and Tom Ferry has one of them, and he is much more focused on sort of the getting started side of the business. I'm going to close this down here and then go to full screen on my iPad, and we'll get going. So, how to become a lean, mean appointment setting machine. As usual, we talk about habits, attitudes, and skills. Most of the time our classes focus on learning some new skills, and there are some skills we're going to talk about here and some tips, but this one's also going to talk a lot about forming some better habits. And we usually remind people that initially these have to be disciplines, and then eventually they become habits, hopefully. And of course, when you have better skills, better disciplines, and better habits, that improves your attitude and makes you want to learn more. And the better your attitude, the more you're willing to learn more and add more to your arsenal of tools and grow and continue. As we mentioned yesterday in our sales meeting, continuous improvement is crucial. Those who don't continue to improve, those who stand still, are usually left behind. So I appreciate everybody taking advantage of this training, and let's get going. So one of the biggest things we need when we think about setting appointments is to overcome our fear of phones. That's a scary shot, not because of the claw, but look at that old phone. I hope nobody's still using an old phone like that. That's not even a BlackBerry, I don't even think. So yes, fear of phones and picking up the phone, and you admit it, we all have it. I have it. So what we're going to talk about today is how to set routines and mindsets that can help you overcome that fear of phones and calling people you don't know for the most part. We're looking at hopefully 4x or even maybe 10xing your number of appointments that you get. So here's what we typically find with agents at all levels, whether they're highly successful, moderately successful, or newer and just building their business. And that is that this business can have a lot of drama, a lot of distractions, and what we call the whirlwind. You get into that, what Buffini talks about, the COO hat, the actual deal making, where you're working with clients, showing them houses, negotiating, et cetera, et cetera. That has a lot of ups and downs, a lot of drama to it. And we get caught up in that. And what that usually produces is that we don't have focus on trying to build our business, i.e. setting appointments. We don't have a big rocks first approach. And again, big rocks first is that peak producer approach of focusing first, but not most, on those things that will help you build your business. We find most agents that I meet with in coaching and training sessions have to admit that, yep, they're still getting organized. One of the questions I always ask in a coaching session, so how are you doing? Do you have all your contacts put into your CRM system, whether you're using the BHHS one or another one? Are they all in there? Are they organized? And the answer is 99.9% of the time, no. Nancy's shaking her head here. Thank you, Nancy. I'm still getting organized, still working on it, still getting ready. That's great. You need to be prepared. And we may even be making some contacts. That's wonderful. We may even be getting some leads. But the key is that third step, setting the appointment. This is a business of talking to people. And yes, phone conversations are great. That's up there, number 3 at the top of the communications pyramid that Michael Mayer talks about in his book, The 7 Levels of Communication. But number 2 is group meetings, and number 1 is one-on-one appointments. So that's why it's crucial that we learn how to set appointments and get out and meet with people. So one of the problems here that we see is that people tend to be focused more on the effect or the result versus the cause. What I mean by that, and what Tom Ferry means by that, is meet with people and they'll say, yeah, I need more listings, or I need to bring in more buyer clients. I really like working with buyers, or I need more relo things or whatever. So that's focusing on the result. I need more of X. The cause or the solution is I need to make more appointments. That's what you need to be focused on, not I need more listings. Okay, you need more listings. How do you get more listings? Focus on the cause or the solution. Bottom line, we don't have an appointment setting routine. And so we're going to talk first of all about setting an appointment setting routine for yourself. So stop and think about it. And again, this is mostly ties to talking to people on the phone. And we're going to get into some details about what it means and some tips to talk on the phone with people. You may have some face-to-face meetings where you're setting up an appointment, but basically this is talking on the phone. Well, first of all, your emotions and energy communicate to the client. Stop and think about it. We've all had a phone call from somebody or called somebody, a friend, a family member, a spouse. Hello. Oh gosh, what's wrong? Yeah. So your energy communicates itself, your posture communicates itself. So the first thing to think about as you're getting ready, you have to prepare yourself. You know, athletes before they play the game, before those Olympians swim that 200 butterfly and win the gold medal, they warm up, they practice and they warm up. They get their mindset going, they get their bodies going. We've got to do the same thing. So one of the first things to do is to think about, okay, I'm getting myself ready to make some calls here. I'm getting my routine going. Why should this client do business with me? Start thinking about what is it that I bring to this process that no other agent could do. One of the things that you can bring is energy and enthusiasm that most agents aren't going to be thinking about. So why should this client do business with me? And we're going to dig into that a little bit more specifically as it relates to expireds, for sale by owners, just listed, just sold, referrals, and things like that. So you're going to begin to focus and target them. The key is that you need to be focused on them, not you. Wow, this is right out of Peak Producers. It's out of Tom Ferry. The key is if you're focused just on yourself, I'm calling you because I need 3 appointments this week. You know, if that's your mindset, it isn't going to work. If you're calling people because you've set up to understand what their need is, and if it's an expired, that's one need. If it's a FSBO, that's another need. If it's a just listed, that's another potential need. You need to be focused on what their needs are and how you can help them. And if you do that, you're going to be much more successful. Don't just think about what I need. So, and then what am I committed to? Every day as you get ready to make these phone calls, what are you committed to and why? I want to set 3 appointments today. I want to set 5. I want to set 20. I met with an agent yesterday who has a goal of setting, I think, 10 appointments every day and forwarding them on to other people. And he has a system to record all the calls that he makes and tracking his statistics. He can tell you to the percentage point how many contacts he makes in terms of the number of calls he makes. 9% is his number, and that's a good number. So he is really on top of things and on fire with an appointment setting routine. So the key is to get into an appointment setting state and ready to do that, you know, just like that swimmer does before they dive into the pool, their body and their mind. And it's as much mind and emotions as anything else. We all understand and know that. So number 2 of the 4 things we're going to talk about in an appointment setting routine is to target your contacts. I mentioned that. The key is to think about who you're most comfortable calling. Now, starting out with this, you're probably not going to be comfortable calling anybody, but after you've done this for a while, you're going to recognize that, you know, I'm really good at calling expired listings. I've got a great routine, and I'm really good at that. So I'm going to start with my expired listings. I got 17 that have come up that expired yesterday. I'm going to call those things first thing this morning in my territory. And again, remember the last Wednesday morning wake up of August, we're going to have Lisa Treadwell, who is a marvelous agent. She started her career about 10 years ago and focused on, because she discovered she was good at it and put together a great routine, expired listings and for sale by owners. So she's going to be doing a class specific focused on that segment of things. So target your gimmies, you know, your automatic shot. Even I could probably make sorry about that. Let me close that. Sorry about that. Even I could probably, oops, I hit the wrong thing there, cancel. There we go. Let me close this. I apologize. So please don't make any comments because it will pop that thing out and cause me to have to stop. Sorry about that. Thank you so much. All right. So I could even probably make that shot 90% of the time. So that's a gimme. So who are you comfortable calling? Is it your clients, your database, your A clients, your expireds, or your web leads? You know, you're getting web leads. I had my very first Zillow lead last Friday and converted it into a new client who's going to be selling and buying, and probably a total of $500,000 to $600,000. So that's very nice. So some of the keys, the third element is to be assumptive in your approach. Language in communication, our language really is only 7%. This comes from studies, I don't know where, but only 7% of the impact in our communication is from the actual language we use. The rest of it is your mindset, your energy, your posture. Now, on the phone, you might think, well, gosh, none of those things come through. Well, it does come through. And we've got some specific recommendations when we get to the next section on some tips. So be aware that your language is crucial and important, but so is your mindset, your posture, your energy. All that comes through even on the phone. So stop and think about that. No, maybe, no, I might, or what do you think? Or I don't know. None of that. Get those out of your lexicon. And how do you get those out of your lexicon? You practice, you role play some of these things in dialogues, and you learn to do this. So what do you want to say? You want to be assumptive. That means you're assuming that you're going to get the appointment. You're assuming you're going to get the listing. And so you say things like, so when we get together, or at our meeting, I will da da da. When I see your house, when we list your house, don't leave them hanging. When I help you find the house you want to write an offer on, that's when I'll da da da. You talk assumptively, and people will respond to that. It's subtle, but it works, and it helps both you and them. The key is to not leave them hanging. That means close the sale, close to set the appointment. We've all been in situations. I think back to my early dating days, many, many decades ago. Some of you may be young enough that you're still going through that process and wanting to ask a girl out and calling up and talking about everything. A geometry class, that test was really hard, wasn't it? Wow, oh boy. Gosh, do you think we'll win the football game Saturday night or Friday night or whatever? All this stuff, and never quite being able to get around to saying, so would you maybe think about maybe wanting to go out with me? No, the key is you gotta close, and it's awkward if you don't. You've all been in that situation where somebody asked you out, or you knew a friend was asking you to make a donation to their favorite charity, and they're all over the place, and you're going, what are you calling for? It gets to the point where you've wasted an opportunity. If you don't close, people expect it. So, and the key with being successful at this kind of thing is to close more than once. If you close once and they say, nah, don't accept that and say, oh, okay, I'm sorry I bothered you, bye. Close, more than once, because objections are merely questions that need to be answered for you. So keep that in mind. So, no, I'll get back to you later. Instead, what'll be better? This is a great phrase that all the coaches in training use. What'll be better, Monday at 4 or Tuesday at 6? This is a fabulous thing to use for people when you're talking about. Brian Buffini uses the approach of, if you're like me, if we don't put it on the calendar right now, I know we'll never get together. And this happens all the time to us when we run into a friend we haven't seen for a while, or we talk to them on the phone. Hey, let's get together for a coffee or lunch or a beer or whatever. Let's play golf together sometime. And you both kind of know that you do sort of mean it, but you don't really mean it. So you go, yeah, that'll be great. I'll get back to you. Yeah, I'll get back to you. Yeah, right. Sure, I will. So don't accept the I'll get back to you. Approach it as, so what'll be better, Monday at 4 or Tuesday at 6? Well, here's a common response to that. When you've gotten this far with somebody, well, let me talk with my spouse, or my significant other, my partner, whatever it might be. Let me talk to them and we'll get back to you. I'll tell you what, let's pencil in, if it worked for you, Tuesday at 6, pencil me in, and then when you talk to your wife or your husband or your whatever, if that doesn't work, get back to me and we'll set another time. Pencil me in for that. So you've got an appointment scheduled. You've been assumptive about it, and hopefully most of the time it will work. You've engaged them much further if they've agreed to, okay, that's great. Yes, I'll pencil you in for that and I'll get back to you. So the key is to book it now and to move beyond the reflex no. We all have this in any sales situation. We all have this, and this is a sales situation. We have to get used to it. So that reflex response is no. Think about this. You see some people wearing a really cool leather jacket or a new pair of beautiful shoes, and you think, whoa, I'm seeing more and more people with that kind of jacket. That looks really cool. Or those beautiful, beautiful shoes. What do you do first? You get online. You look and see where they're available, and maybe, Macy's has them, or Kohl's has those. Wow, and there's a sale on. Whoa, I think I'll stop by Kohl's or Macy's or whatever. Yeah, I think I like that jacket. If it fits as good as it looks and feels as good as it looks. And what do? We walk in, And as soon as the salesperson approaches us and says, "May I help you, sir?" What's our response? "I'm just looking," even though we know what we want. Is that true? Is that true or not? Yes, of course it's true. So that this is human nature. So why I'm saying this is not you they're rejecting. We're going to talk about rejection in a minute too. But that just looking, that no response, that is a typical response of human nature. So be prepared for it and go beyond it. Remember, we're helping these people make a decision. So this is what goes into an appointment setting routine. Let's move now a little bit more specifically and talk about 6 tips for communicating over the phone. Keeping in mind, of course, that 99% of this or 95% of these kinds of discussions are going to be over the phone. You may run into people at your Starbucks and do the mayor campaign like Gino Blafari does at his Starbucks every Saturday morning, where you have this great conversation with people and engage them and get them to give you their information to potentially become a client, and he generates 1 or 2 referrals a month by doing that. So you may be doing some prospecting and communicating face to face, but most of the time we're going to be doing it over the phone. So I got some tips for you here. Here's the key. You want the customer to feel good when you're on the phone with them. That sounds pretty obvious, doesn't it? You want the customer to feel good. So how do we go about that? Well, we already talked about the key is to focus on them, not your goals. I need 3 appointments. I need to talk to you. If you're not interested, I'm hanging up. Bye. You got to understand their pain and problems. No, that doesn't mean do they have a backache or anything like that. What that means is if this is a FSBO, their pain and problem is they don't want to pay a commission. They do want to sell their house. If it's been on the market for 60 days, it's a FSBO and hasn't sold, they got a problem and they got pain. If you're calling somebody on Just Listed and you're calling people around the neighborhood there, their pain and problem might be they're probably curious to see what the house is on the market for, or did they told me they put hardwood floors in that. Did they really put hardwood floors? So there's curiosity is there. So you got to understand when you're calling, and again, you target your calls, whether you're expireds, referrals, or whatever, to understand what their issue might be so you can understand and know how to be responding to that. And then number 2, you got to know your dialogues, what to say and how to say it. There's a lot of talk in this business, and there's a lot of great dialogues, and sometimes they're called scripts. I personally prefer the term dialogue just for a sort of the subtle reason that dia means 2 and makes it clear that there's 2 people in this discussion. It's not just you, and we've all been on the receiving end of phone calls, or when we call into AT&T with a problem with our UVerse situation, and they read the script and they've got to go through everything, and they're reading it, and they may try to be nice about it, but they're just reading a script. And even when you say, "You just asked me that same question," or "The person I just talked with asked me that same question, dagnabbit, gall darn it," they say, "I'm just trying to make sure I have all the information you need, sir." Well, what they really should be saying is, "I'm just reading from a script, and that's the next line, and I don't know what else to say if I don't read from the script." So I like the word dialogue better. What dialogues or scripts, call them whatever you like. The key, as Tom Ferry says, as Brian Buffini says, memorize them first so that you know them by heart. And then even beyond that, internalize them. Make them yours so that it's in your language, your phraseology, your tone of voice, and that you never, ever come across as if you were reading something and had to go to the next line down to see what you're doing. So you don't want people to think you're reading. Never, never, never. So memorize and then internalize these. And the worst thing that you can do also is to have somebody think you're reading, but it's also equally bad if people think you have to think about what to say. So that's why it's so crucial to internalize them. If you memorize them and somebody responds differently than anything that you've ever seen in the script with a different answer, and you get off track, whoa. Now, if you internalize it and think of it as a dialogue, that's going to allow you to much better be in a position to not feel like you are trying to think what to say. Why do we want to not have anybody think we're having to think about what we're saying? We want them to know that we are thinking about what they're saying and understanding their needs and their goals. So the key with all of this is to practice, practice, practice role-playing. And I'm going to have an announcement at the end of this training session about something we're going to be doing to put into place to help you with all that. So point number 3 is get to the point. We talked about this earlier. You got to close. And but even before that, get to the point. Sometimes, with some situations, the first thing out of your mouth might just be, "This is David Hassler with Berkshire Hathaway Home Service, and I'm calling to set an appointment to talk to you about getting your expired listing sold." That might be the very best thing, rather than hemming around and, so how's the weather? How's the neighborhood? I saw your house was listed. Are you thinking about listing it again? Da, 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 da. Get right to the point. I'm calling an appointment to solve the problem that you folks have had not being able to get your house sold. And I look forward to setting an appointment with you. Get right to the point. Ask her out on that date. Close. Get right to it. Some cases it may not be. Obviously, in a situation where you're calling an inactive client who's given you 4 referrals and you're doing your twice a year lunch with them, you're not going to call up and say, "I'm calling up to set an appointment." But many times, especially with those you don't know, this is a great way. Get to the point. Here's a big one. Number 4, stand up. This is huge. Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, presenting. I'm actually sitting down right now, but usually I like to stand up, and because the energy is a bit different. When you stand up, and I have one of those little stand-up things at my desk in my office, and when I'm making calls or I get on a phone call, even if I don't use that stand-up thing, I stand up. It's a habit I've had for decades in my business life. I stand up, and I like to walk around. Your body controls your tonality and your emotional state. So think about that. You're sitting down, you're slouched back, you're on your 14th call, you're leaning there, you got your chin in your hand, and you're talking. You can hear the tone of voice as you allow yourself to get relaxed and bored or whatever. You're standing up and you're walking around. You've got good posture. When you're talking to somebody and you're saying, "I'm going to come out there and make an appointment and sell your house." I'm nodding right now. You can't see that. You can hear that come through, as opposed to, "Would you like me to come out?" And I'm shaking my head no right now. "Would you like me to come out? And would it be possible for me to maybe come out?" And we all do this. Unconsciously, subconsciously, we shake our heads, we do these things. So stand up and think about controlling your emotions and being positive and assumptive. So number 5, over the phone, or OTP. A lot of people, the younger people, probably refer to as OTP, over the phone. Think about this. We already talked about that your words are only 7% of what you communicate. Also, when you're on the phone, you're only using 20% of the effectiveness that you could use in person. You're only engaging 1 sense. They can't see you. We do have Skype these days and FaceTime and other things like that. It hasn't become as prevalent as maybe one day it might, but for the most part right now, we're really just hearing voice to voice. So what that says, again, is your words and your energy are crucial. So if you think you can get away with a great dialogue or great script and just read it, no, your energy and words are even more crucial when you stop and think about that over the phone and how that amplifies the positiveness of what you're doing. So number 6, the last tip on talking and working over the phone, is to get the fear out of the way. Everybody's got fears. We have fears, before we make the phone call. So you'll get part of getting yourself into that mindset of the appointment setting routine is to get your own fear out of the way. And if you're really struggling sometime and really struggling to pick up that phone, that claw is out there and you really don't want to reach for that phone, stop and go through this little routine. What's the worst case scenario? All right, I make some calls today. What's the worst case? Okay, I'm going to get rejection. Okay, this is a business of rejection, quite frankly. We have purchase agreements that are rejected. We have loans that get not approved. We have appraisals that don't go through. We have a lot of elements of this business that could be considered rejection. And one of the biggest things to keep in mind is that for the most part, 99.9% of the time, that rejection is not of me personally, not of you personally. It's of a situation. And so most of the rejection you're going to get on these kind of phone calls is of realtors or the situation or the failures of the marketing or whatever it's been. So that's what's being rejected. And Mitch Morales, who is a devotee of Mike Ferry coaching and training and still does Mike Ferry coaching on a regular basis, he says that Mike Ferry has the comment that you don't like rejection? Nobody likes rejection. And you know what the best way to deal with that is? Get more of it. Go get more rejection so that you become used to it. You recognize and you're able to assimilate it and not take it personally. If you only get rejected once a month by making one phone call and you give up, you're never going to get adjusted to it and recognize that it's not you. It's the career, it's the business, it's whatever it might be. And so think of what's the worst case scenario. Okay, I'm going to get rejected. Somebody might even curse at you. So that's the worst. You're still alive. You still got your kids. You're still going to vacation and at Orlando next week. What's the worst that could happen? So then ask yourself, what's the most likely scenario? If I make 20 calls today, what's the most likely scenario? Okay, I'll get a little rejection. I'll probably get some people in the middle, it's a bell curve, who are reasonably pleasant to talk with, who don't just out of hand reject me, that I have a decent conversation and might even be able to set an appointment with. And and then what's the best case scenario? Wow, the best case scenario is I hit my goal and hit 3 appointments set, and I have great conversations with people, and I set 3 appointments for tomorrow. Wow. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And the third one, the worst case scenario, isn't all that bad when you really stop and think about it. So this is getting your own fear out of the way. So you're on the phone now. You're talking with somebody, an expired listing person, or somebody, a just listed person, and you're talking to them, and they've said, yes, we really are considering selling our house, and my wife's brother's dog groomers, aunts, third cousins, landscaper is a part-time real estate agent. We feel obligated to use them. We've all had that. I got a friend in the business, and also we've talked to 2 other realtors, and so I think we're all set. So most of the time we go, oh, okay, all right, well, good luck. I'll try to bring you a buyer if I can. So no, here's where to use this one. They've got a fear of talking to another person. They perhaps still got a fear of listing their house, and so this is a great time to use this 3-pronged little scenario. So I'll tell you what, this is great. I respect the fact that you've got a friend in the business, and you've talked to a couple of other agents. You obviously haven't made a decision yet. So let me ask you this. If I come out tomorrow at 6 o'clock, meet with you and your spouse, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst case scenario? And then stop talking. Don't tell them, stop talking. Make them think about it, and they'll usually come up with sort of the same things. Well, you'll have wasted an hour of our time, or we'll have wasted an hour of your time, and we'll have decided to go ahead and list with our brother after all, etc. And so you can say, well, so that's not really that bad of a conclusion if I help you reach a decision on that. So, but what's the most likely scenario? If that's the worst case scenario, what's the most likely scenario? Well, we might learn something new. You might have a different take on the market, and you might have a different approach to getting things done, and we might actually learn something and might want to consider you. Great, that's fabulous. So what's the best case scenario? Well, bingo. Well, we fall in love with you. You tell us you could sell the house for twice what anybody else can sell it for, and you're going to cut your whatever. We love you, and you list our house, and we sell it for more than we thought we could. So again, well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and even the third one, if it helps you make a decision, isn't bad. Is today at 4 o'clock or tomorrow at 6 o'clock better for you? Let's pencil it in. So this is a great approach. I love this. The worst case, most likely case, and best case scenario type situation. So let's move on. So we've talked about getting your mindset set up, getting into a routine, how to target things. We've talked about some specifics of dealing with people on the phone, standing up, and various things. And I'm going to give you some more tips on building rapport in a bit. But let's talk now about setting your ultimate appointment setting environment. Environment is gigantic. So he has several tips, excuse me, for this, 7 tips on this one. The first one is to have an appointment tracker that's visual. That might be, a great big monthly calendar, a yearly calendar that's up on your wall, and that you can use a marker to put in there, check, goal, 20 calls and 2 appointments today, and you can mark them up there and check them off or whatever, or a monthly one, it's on your desk or whatever. Or a lot of people like to use tablets and have that on your tablet that you can check them off, and have it in Evernote perhaps, so you got it with you on your computer, on your tablet, and on your phone, anywhere you go, and you can see what you're doing. So, but a visual reminder. Visual is gigantic in this kind of thing. Whoa, this is great. I've got 17 calls done. I've only got 3 more to do. That's great. That line is just going across there. Number 2, Tom Ferry talks about setting up an appointment setting shrine. I love that word, your shrine. This is important stuff for us. So he calls this your shrine, and he says it's a place to have all your tools, all your dialogues, and your big why. He talks about that he has a big folder that opens up. It's a trifold folder that opens up, and he can carry it with him fairly easily, and then he can open it up and put it on his desk when it's the time to be doing the lead generation and doing the phone calls and appointment setting. And it's got everything in there. It's got your calendar in there, your appointment tracker in there. It's got all your dialogues, so you can pull the one out for for the expireds or whatever you're going to be doing first, and read through it and go through it, make sure you got it down. And then it also, on one of the panels, it's got your big why, a vision board. We've talked about this. Brian Buffini talks about vision boards. We have agents in our offices that I see that have these up on their walls, and it's the things that why I'm doing this, the big why that I'm doing this. I met with an agent yesterday in a coaching session. His big why is he's got kids in grade school now, and his goal is to get into this business and make enough money that he can put his kids through college and have them have to take out $0 in student loans. Wow, that's a great big why. Some other agents might be that I want to buy my first house if you're starting out in the business and don't own a house yet. It might be that I want to retire in 3 years and buy a villa in Tuscany. So put those pictures on there so you can see them. The visual is gigantic. So your appointment setting shrine, get everything so that you can have it at hand. And then number 3, this goes hand in glove with that, and that is eliminate the distractions. You may have this beautiful shrine, you got your calendar there, you got your big why and everything like that, you got your dialogues, and then as you're standing up, getting ready to make your first phone call, you look at the stack of deal folders sitting next to your computer, and you realize that, oh, isn't the McGillicuddy inspection this afternoon? Shoot, did I make that? And you get distracted by that COO deal-making aspect of things. And yes, you need to pay attention and make sure you cover the McGillicuddy's inspection, take care of that, but not now. Have that for later. You're doing this. This is the big rock, and you're spending the time on this now. So eliminate distractions the best you can. So now the next 4 here, a little bit more simpler. Setting up your ultimate environment. Stand up. We talk about that. We reiterate that. Stand up. It makes so much difference. It's much more comfortable. You can be pacing. You can be leaning forward, nodding your head when you're talking to somebody. Another thing that Tom Ferry recommends is some music. This may work for you. This may not work for you. I like classical music, and I'm a subscriber to that Mozart effect, that having some classical music of an appropriate kind playing quietly in the background helps you with analytical thinking and being organized and that kind of thing. It's called the Mozart effect. Tom Ferry has some specific things, sort of rock kinds of things that give him energy. And he plays them very, very softly so that the person on the phone can't hear them, but it gives him a little energy. So think about that. Give it some try. Obviously, you don't want that to be a distraction to you or your client as well. Number 6, plant. Have a living thing to share your oxygen. Actually, it provides oxygen for you to share as you're talking a lot. So have a couple of living plants in your office. That really warms things up and makes it feel a bit more homey, I guess you could say. And then number 7, get the best headset that you can use. And I need to get a new one because I'm recently having people tell me that my headset is cutting in and out when I'm talking to them. And that you cannot have. So I need to look at getting a better headset and maybe doing one that is a wired one as opposed to for this purpose, as opposed to a Bluetooth one might be the better way to do it. So a good headset so that your hands are free. Do not use speakerphone. Do not use speakerphone, folks. You younger folks who use speakerphone all the time, if you call somebody up and they detect that you're on a speakerphone, wow, somebody at my age, that is a total turn off. Who else is in the room? Who do you want to hear? Who's listening to this conversation? No, nobody wants that. So don't use your speaker. Use a good headset. So those are some quick tips on using the phone and phone calling and this kind of thing. So now I'm going to move into building rapport. So essentially, you've got actually probably less than 60 seconds, but if you stop and think about it, you need to build rapport in 60 seconds or less on that phone call. Again, you're talking and dealing with people who don't know you 90% of the time here. And if you stop and think, we do business with people that we know, like, and trust. That's who we do business with. We're comfortable with people. You've got somebody who's a plumber and they come out and they're trying to upsell you. You're probably not going to like or trust that plumber and never use them again. So you want to know, like, and trust people. Tom Ferry has a quote in his training. I can't remember who made this quote, but it is a quote from somebody. In the absence of trust, there's only room for objection. In the absence of trust, there's only room for objection. So that's why it's so crucial that we begin to build immediately that level of rapport or trust, which is what it really boils down to. So some approaches to building rapport. First of all, listen to how they answer. Now, this is both how they answer the phone and how they answer questions. We're going to talk in a minute more about how they answer the phone, but listen to how they answer the questions. One of the things that we're going to be saying to somebody, on a just listed or a just sold call, one of the first things you're going to be asking somebody is, so have you folks thought about buying or selling at any point in time? And if the answer is no, okay, that's pretty straightforward. But sometimes people will say, we've, they have this wistful sound to their voice, well, not really. No, not really. No, no. Well, here's the response to that. They've just opened the door for you, and here's the response to walk through that door. Be very direct, and that is, you know what? I'm hearing some hesitation in your voice as you say, not really. So let me. So you don't repeat the question and say, so are you really thinking about buying? No, you say, because most of the time when people think about selling their house, they're really thinking about buying another one. That's what drives us to sell our house 90% of the time. We're retiring and moving to Florida. I had one like that earlier this year.
No,
We are looking to get Tommy into better schools. There's a reason usually people
no,
think about moving and buying another house versus just deciding to sell. Because it's been 7 years and statistics show I should be selling my house. So the response to that indecision of that opens the door a little bit is to say, I've noticed a little bit of hesitation there. So let me ask you this question. If I were to come out, meet with you folks, and I was able to help you folks sell your house at the top of the market in today's market, whatever number that might be, where would you guys like to move? Wow, that's a great. Where are you thinking about moving? Because with that hesitation, they have been thinking about moving. They really haven't thinking about selling their house, but they have been thinking about moving, and that engages an entirely different set of emotions. Oh yes, oh you've been thinking about, I love those new ranch houses that are being built with a finished lower level that then has a walkout to a pond or something like that. Oh yes, we call those executive ranches. Those are great. I just sold one over in blah 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 blah. Oh, wow, that's great. So you've engaged them at a different level. Well, then would it be better for me to come over this afternoon at 4 or tomorrow at 6 to take a look at your house and talk about maybe getting it on the market and see how I can help you find one of those executive ranches? So listen to how they answer the question. Again, no, maybe no, but oftentimes an objection merely is a request for more information. And we have lots of training on how to deal with those as well. So listen to how they answer. And here's a big key: mirror or mimic their volume, their words and patterns, their tonality, their pace, their emotional state. I like the word mirror better than mimic because mimic has a connotation of making fun of somebody. So, you never want to mimic somebody. And I leave that in there because it's in the Tom Ferry approach. I leave it in there to specifically say, be careful not to allow yourself to be lapsing into a southern drawl with them and have them think for 1 second that you are mimicking their voice and their tone and their drawl. But mirroring things is very different. Give us some examples. Let's say you're a fairly soft-spoken person in your normal approach to things, and someone answers the phone and says, "Hello, this is Bill," and you say, "Hi, this is David Hassler with Berkshire Hathaway, and I would really love to talk with you. I'd like to set an appointment." Your tone of voice is probably, you've just set up the opposite of anti-rapport. You've just set up something that probably drives this person nuts because of the way they speak. So the goal is to try to match them. Similarly, if they answer the phone, "Hello, this is Sally," then you better not say, "Hi, this is David Hassler with Berkshire Hathaway. I'm calling to set an appointment." So the best is to respond in their tone. If it's a quiet person, then say, "Hi, this is David Hassler with Berkshire Hathaway. I'd love to talk to you about setting an appointment," blah, 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 blah. So match their tone and their volume and their pace. Again, let's talk about that Southerner. They've just moved here, or they're calling from Louisiana, and they're going to move up here in 2 months, and they want somebody to help them buy a house. And you've gotten them in a referral. It's your first phone call to them. "Hello, this is Billy Joe," and I'm mimicking a Southern accent. I mean you to try to do a good Southern accent. "Hello, this is Billy Joe. How are you today?" Well, that's now. If you again say, "Hi, this is David Hassler. I'm calling to," even if you mimic their sort of their volume level, but your pace is different, then it isn't going to work. So it needs to be, "Hi, this is David Hassler, Berkshire Hathaway." Don't mimic their drawl, but equal their pace. And again, the person from New York who's moved here 5 years ago and is thinking about selling her house, and they answer the phone and say, "Hi, what do you want? Hi, this is Bill. What do you want? How can I help you?" You know, you better not be saying, "Hi, this is David Hassler with Berkshire Hathaway." So mimic their volume, their word patterns, and again, think about the way different people at different markets say things. Here in our market in Central Indiana, we talk about me and me deals. In most of the rest of the state, realtors talk about double enders. We talk about in many markets we talk about FSBOs. Some people, if you say FSBO, they go, "What?" Even in the business, they'll say, "Oh, you mean a for sale by owner?" We don't call them FSBOs here. So, and in Canada, they actually call them privates, like a private sale. So if you're dealing with somebody who's from Canada and they're doing a private and you call up, "I see you've been trying to do your house as a FSBO." "What? Pardon me?" So think about where they're from and mirror what they're saying and also their emotional state. How you can do that if somebody, they answer the phone, they say, "Hi, this is Sally." Then you better be right up there. "Well, hi, this is David Hassler." "Hi, this is Sally." "Hi, Sally. This is David Hassler calling. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway." Match their emotional state. Now, you may run into people who are angry. You're calling that for sale by owner or that expired listing. This is where this is probably going to happen the most. That listing just expired yesterday, and you're calling at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the person answers the phone. "Hello, this is Bill." "Hi, this is David Hassler with Berkshire Hathaway." "Oh," and they interrupt you. "Oh, you're the 43rd realtor to call me on this expired listing. Dagnabbit." They're angry, they're frustrated. So what do? Do you go, "Oh, I'm so sorry to bother you"? No, you can match their level of frustration. "Oh, 43rd to call you up? I can't believe that. You must be so frustrated. Good grief. Shame on all of us." Well, the good news is that the 43rd one is the one that's going to get your problem solved. When can I come up and meet with you? It would be 4 o'clock today or 6 o'clock. Now, it's really brash, but if none of the other agents if most of the other agents, when they were the second, the third, the fourth, the 42nd and the 40 whatever, said, "Oh, I'm sorry," or "Gosh, I'd like to tell you about how I'm different," and you're the only one who said, "I'm so sorry. That must be so frustrating for you. I can understand that. Shame on us." But I tell you what, that might just be enough to have them say, "Wow, this guy's a little bit different. He respected my frustration, shared it, understood it, and said he's going to solve my problem." "Okay, well, what are you going to do to solve my problem?" You might get that as the second question. So you can mirror their emotional state. Don't be angry with them, but share their frustration, and that can work. So the third aspect then of building rapport is to validate answers. Now, we get this all the time, and most of the time it can be kind of annoying. And again, it means repeating and approving. So, you go out to the restaurant and the waiter comes over and you say, "I'd like a double serving of mashed potatoes and a side of macaroni and cheese." And the waiter says, "Oh, marvelous choice." Hey, you sort of go, "No, it's not. That's awful." Why are you saying that's a marvelous choice? But we all like to be approved. So repeating and doing so in a sense of approval. No, not with mashed potatoes and a side of macaroni and cheese, but genuinely approving what they're saying, and in the sense of that, number one, you understand it, and number two, that this is a good thing. Yes, this makes sense for you. And think about this. So the first thing is that when you repeat it back, so if you guys, that one that I mentioned before, so if you were to think about moving, where would you like to move to? Well, we like that executive ranch kind of configuration on some water. We'd love to do that, and to be closer into the center of Carmel or whatever it might be. Oh, that's great. How many bedrooms would you like? We'd like 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths, and we'd love a hot tub. Great. So 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and a hot tub. You're showing that you've heard them. We've all been in situations that are the opposite of that. Yeah. Oh, do you need a 2-car garage? And we've all done that too, right? We've all done that from time to time. And we've made notes, and I've done this myself. You go back to your notes and go, "Oh, how many bedrooms did they want? Was it 3 or 4? We've all done that because we're not taking the time to respect, because we think we figure we know what they want. So repeating shows that we are listening to them and we care about it, and we prove it. Oh, that's great. Words like, "Oh, that's great, good, that's wonderful. Those are wonderful houses like that. You'll really enjoy that." Give approval to it when they're talking about things like that. And when you're going through the list with them of, well, yeah, before I come out there tomorrow at 6 o'clock to talk about listing your house, tell me what upgrades you've done. Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, good for you. That's great. Oh, you took out all the hardwood floors and put in laminate. Oh, that's great. So, but give them approval on things and validate their answers. That seals that connection with you. So, again, the bottom line on building rapport, if you can do it, you're on your way to more and more appointments. So practice and role play. Practice and role play regularly. Get these dialogues out there, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. So to summarize, we've given you some things, some tips on how to put yourself into the mindset of an appointment setting routine, some tips on setting up your environment for an appointment setting routine, how to make the best use of that tool we all use so frequently, the telephone, and some things not to do, and how to build rapport to get you started with all these kinds of things. So bottom line, knowing the tools and the mindsets and the dialogues to set more appointments is going to help you as you develop the habits and disciplines to consistently working your appointment setting routine. The key, as we all know, is to consistently do this kind of thing. Have basically a budget for your year of how much you want to take home to have a good life for your family, to save for that college fund, how many, based on my average sale price and my average commission rate and my split with the company, how many transactions does that mean I need? And with that number of transactions based on the number of contacts I need to make to get an active client, and how many calls and contacts I need to make to get that active contact. And that will tell you then how many calls and contacts you need to make every day. And once you've worked into that, that'll tell you you need to make 10 calls a day, 20 calls a day, 100 calls a day, whatever it might be to build your business. And then you can consistently work toward that. It'll give you such a great sense of satisfaction and confidence in improving your attitude in setting more appointments in any situation. So I've thrown the word up there, dialogues. I've talked about dialogues and scripts. I haven't given any of them to you yet, have I? We've talked about dialogues and scripts before. We have lots of dialogues and scripts. Those of you who are in the 90 Days to Success plan with Kent are getting dialogues and scripts. We have things that are resources that are part of that. Give me a call, give Kent a call, talk to your manager if you'd like to get some dialogues. But what we're going to be doing, as I mentioned, on August 31st, a few weeks from now, Lisa Treadwell is going to be doing a Wednesday morning class talking specifically about tools and a system, and including dialogues and things for dealing with expired listings and for sale by owners or privates that she used to build her business, and she got very good at it. It was a great system, and so we're going to be doing that. Plus, I'm going to announce now that probably starting in the next month or so, Mitch Morales has offered to share what he's been learning for years as a client of the Mike Ferry training and coaching systems. Mitch still has a regular phone call with his Mike Ferry coach, helping him improve his use of the scripts and dialogues and make sure he's focusing on making the number of prospecting calls he needs. And he's gotten to be very good at it. And Mitch is happy to share these tools, systems, and approaches with us and with agents. And what we're going to be doing is, Mitch is probably in the next month or so, we're going to start setting up, adding another class to the monthly schedule. And it might be twice a month. It might even be 4 times a month. It might even be weekly, where it's going to be a brief class where Mitch is going to be talking about and sharing scripts and dialogues with specific elements of this kind of prospecting, sort of this hard phone call prospecting, which is so difficult, but can yield great results for us if we know what we're doing. He's going to do those classes, and then he's going to be leading by example in a prospecting area that we're going to be setting up, and where he's going to encourage people to be there with him, listen in, make their own phone calls, do role playing and make their own phone calls, and keep track and slap each other on the back when one of them scores an appointment. So this is something we're going to be doing to help new and newer agents build your business, because most of the new and newer agents don't have a vast sphere of influence and inactive clients to get referrals from. Yes, we want to be getting referrals from people, but most of the time, newer agents are going to be working with open houses and having to do the contact expired listings and for sale by owners. And so Mitch is going to be doing a program to help us with that. And any of you agents who've been in the business for a while and maybe have sort of gotten out of doing expireds and for sale by owners, because it is hard work, and maybe you've got a lot of referrals and repeat business, but let's say your business has plateaued or you're feeling like you've got some energy and would like to take your business to another level. Wow, this could be a tool that can be really helpful for you, because as difficult, that I think of that phone with the claw coming out of it, there is that fear. This is not the easiest thing in the world to do. But if you've got some guidance, if you've got a good system, if you've got some encouragement and some tips and ongoing training and tools for doing this, it can add a lot to your business. So I encourage this for everybody. So becoming a lean, mean appointment setting machine, on we go. Get out there and declaw that telephone as we think about going forward. And we'll look forward to telling more about when Mitch Morales is going to get directly involved in taking this program further for us. So let me hit the escape button and see if we have any questions there. And doesn't look like we have any questions. Anybody have any questions? I've still got the microphones on, so speak up if you do. Nancy, any questions or comments or thoughts from you? Sounds good. We spoke about, I didn't see the rest of encouraging clients. At what point, so Rourke is asking, we spoke about encouraging clients. At what point might it become useful to offer criticism? Oh, yeah, for making appointments, the goal is to, in the repeating back aspect of thing when you're asking questions, that's probably not, I gave a silly example there where somebody said that they took out the hardwood floors and put down laminates. That would not be a wise thing to do. But you want to get out there and get an appointment with them. So, probably getting into a debate about whether that was a smart thing to do or not isn't the right time to do that. However, what you might want to say at that point then, or after you finish that up, is that, what, that's great. One of the things that I love to do is to get out and talk about value enhancement for your house. I actually use a professional stager, and again, this is with certain price ranges of things. I use a professional stager, and what I can do is I can come out and we can take a look at things that to make sure that you don't waste any time or money doing things that won't add value to your house, and only do those things that will add value, and also not spend money where you don't need to as well. So that's what I like to do, is to help you enhance the value of your house. So you've sort of implied that there might be something, and if they say, well, do you think it was a good idea that we replaced the laminate? You replace the hardwood floors with laminate? Then you'd have to then maybe you could say, you know what, I'd love to see it. So is tomorrow at 4 or Tuesday at 6 better for you? I'd love to come out and take a look. I can't really say. So, but I would say probably don't offend them, because they probably liked that laminate and thought it was a great idea. And maybe they have a brother-in-law who's in the business and gave it to him for free. Who knows? So don't point out their mistakes to them, I would say, right up front. Your goal is to get the appointment, and then in your appointment, you can move further. Does that make sense, Rourke? So any other questions? Perfect. Fantastic. Well, thanks, everybody. I will sign off here. We'll end this, and we will put this up on our YouTube channel, and I'll look forward to our class next week and then further classes later on. Take care. Bye.